What's going on, you bunch of heathens? We're back with another Not What You Think video. I love them, and this one obviously caught my attention. This one's called Why the F-14 Was Built for a Weapon That Was Never Fired. And honestly, I'm trying to think. Nothing really comes to mind instantly. So this should be interesting. Make sure you guys check out the original. It's linked down below. And without further ado, let's jump in.
When people think of fighter jets, the F-14 Tomcat is usually at the top of the list.
Near the top, at least, for me at least. See, fighter jets, very top of the list. Instantly, I think of the F-16, the F-22, F-18, I guess, as well. And then, yeah, the F-14 is pretty up there.
And thanks to Top Gun and the final countdown, it's been called the fighter jet that launched 1,000 naval aviator careers. But here's the
hard
twist.
to see why.
The F-14 wasn't actually born for dogfights. It was designed to make sure they never happened in the first place. You see, in the 1960s, the U.S. Navy needed a way to protect the fleet from a new flock of Soviet supersonic bombers and anti-ship cruise missiles. This meant designing an airplane that could haul 6 monster missiles weighing ½ a ton each.
Is that the Phoenix missile?
Is
that the Phoenix?
Twice the speed of sound. Oh, and still land on an aircraft carrier. No pressure. But
I never really thought about that. The feat of engineering to do all of that plus land on an aircraft carrier to make it viable for an aircraft carrier so you could fit multiple and not have it over. Damn, that's actually really cool.
Congress ended up canceling the F-111B Interceptor that was originally built for this mission. It was too expensive, too overweight, and too sluggish. The F-14 Tomcat was rushed into service to fill this interceptor gap. But how an F-14 once shot down 3 airplanes with just 1 missile, and where it got the name Tomcat from.
Oh, damn.
Why over 28% of the F-14 crashes were caused by its own engines.
I didn't know it shot down. How many did it say? 3 airplanes with 1 missile? Were they flying in formation?
How Tomcat pilots managed to burst exactly 50 rounds with each pull of the trigger, and why almost all American F-14s were shredded to pieces shortly after retirement is not what you think.
That's...
At the center of the Tomcat design was a big missile.
I think
the 1,000-pound, 13-foot-long Phoenix AIM-54.
It was the Phoenix.
Tomcat had to be able to carry up to 6 of these monsters.
God, that is a monster.
That's why the airplane itself...
Like, I knew it was big, but it's one of those things that you don't really think about. Holy shit, the Phoenix is fucking huge.
Was also pretty big, visible to the naked eye from 10 miles away.
Damn.
As it later turned out, though, this missile-carrying capability was kinda all for nothing. But because this airplane had variable geometry wings, nothing could be attached to the wing's moving part. This left only enough room to install 1 Phoenix missile under each wing box. So where did they fit the other 4?
Belly hard points.
Engineers found the best place to put the other 4 missiles was right under the fuselage. To make enough room for this, while causing as little drag as possible, the engines had to be spaced 9 feet apart. Wide enough to fit 2 pairs of Phoenix missiles side by side.
Holy shit. So, despite how it looks, it is very deceiving. It is a massive fucking plane. Okay.
But having such a wide body had other benefits. The extra surface area enabled the fuselage itself to generate between 25 to 60% of the F-14's aerodynamic lift, depending on the wing's sweep position and missile load. This lifting body characteristic of the fuselage is what allowed one F-14 to land safely after suffering a mid-air collision in 1991 that sheared off more than half of its wing.
Oh shit! That's cool.
That's so cool. So far apart created a big problem. If one engine suddenly lost power, the resulting asymmetric thrust would...
Yeah, that'd be horrible, but God, that's such a cool design feature of being losing half your fucking wing and able to land.
Cause the airplane to get into a spin, or worse, a flat spin, where the aircraft would rotate horizontally while falling straight down. Until special training was developed in the 1980s, a flat spin in an F-14 was impossible to recover from.
Can't tell if that's DCS. I'm assuming DCS. This doesn't look. I'm assuming DCS. This doesn't necessarily look like War Thunder. It's a bit too detailed for War Thunder.
So the only solution was to eject. But even that was quite dangerous.
It is dangerous.
That's exactly how Goose died in Top Gun.
Yep. Rip Goose, my mans.
The aircraft lacks forward momentum, so a jettison canopy can linger in the turbulent air above, which can be fatal if the pilot ejects into it. In fact, the Navy later added a line in the emergency bailout checklist to be memorized. When ejecting from a flat spin, you first had to jettison the canopy manually and wait 2 seconds before pulling the ejection handles.
That is smart.
The F-14 had terrible engines. That's what the Secretary of the Navy in the 1980s told the US Congress. And he was right, considering that over 28% of all F-14 crashes were due to engine problems. But why? After the Navy scrapped the F-111B program, the Tomcat was rushed into production in just 22 months to meet contract deadlines. The thing is, the engines planned for the F-14 had not yet been built. So instead, Grumman shoved in the engines left over from the F-111B, the Pratt & Whitney TF-30. Since these engines were designed for a bomber airplane, not an agile fighter, compressor stalls were common, especially during sudden maneuvers or even during carrier landings.
You know, two of the things that a naval fighter kind of needs to be able to do. Oh, that's so bad.
It wasn't until the F-14B and D variants were introduced with General Electric F-110 engines that these problems were resolved. The new engines provided 32% higher thrust. That's a 1-to-1 thrust-to-weight ratio.
Oh, that's cool.
With better fuel efficiency
Much better
and reliability, the new engines enabled 60% farther range.
Ooh, Jolly Rogers!
Plus, the F-14 could now launch from an aircraft carrier without using afterburners.
Oh, very useful then.
Keep in mind that the Tomcat's larger airframe meant room for more fuel. 16,000 pounds in internal tanks alone, giving it a cruising range of 1,600 nautical miles at Mach 0.72. It sounds like a lot, until you realize that at sea level, with afterburners blazing at Mach 2, the aircraft would burn through all that internal fuel in just 6 to 8 minutes.
I mean, that is pretty... While yes, that's also fairly normal for jets, isn't it? I'm pretty sure, at least. That sounds fairly normal for jets. To burn through fuel incredibly quickly. It's kind of like you're pushing the engines harder. I mean, look at what is it? The Bugatti Chiron or whatever. That one, if it's pedal to the metal, I think you drain it in about the same, like 7-ish minutes, I think. Something like that. So it's not that surprising. I don't think so anyway.
That's why aerial refueling is so essential to any mission. Oh, and about those rectangular air intakes. Any experienced skydiver knows to keep their mouth shut during freefall, because the alternative is not fun.
Oh,
Similarly,
looks like it could be painful.
Is the engine's mouth, and supersonic air can actually choke the engines. The Pratt & Whitney TF-30 engines were especially sensitive to this. So to prevent compressor stalls at transonic speeds, 3 computer-controlled ramps were installed inside the F-14's engine inlets. Their job was to slow down the airflow to the optimum speed for the engine at any Mach number. The Tomcat's huge engine inlets were rectangular shaped to match the geometry of the 3 ramps inside.
So kind of like That's really cool coding, especially for the fucking time. Like, holy god. But also, it's kind of like the F-15, where the F-15 will tilt its intakes to continuously get the correct airflow, right? I think that's what they do.
The adjustable wing sweep design was one of the most distinctive features of the F-14 Tomcat. Grumman engineers installed an automatic swing wing system controlled by the very first microprocessor in aviation.
Oh, that's cool.
This would adjust the degree of sweep to the optimum angle for any speed.
Jolly Rogers. The fucking Jolly Rogers F-14 is so cool. Troll and Rhino. That's cool.
It also had the ability to manually control the wing sweep, but the computer freed up the pilot to concentrate on everything else. In low-speed operations, such as takeoff and landing, the wings extended forward to 20 degrees, maximizing lift and maneuverability. To perform at high speeds, the wings could sweep back to 68 degrees, dramatically reducing drag and improving aerodynamic performance, critical for supersonic flight.
Yep, but
this gave the Tomcat its iconic triangle shape at high speeds.
God, the moving wings is so cool.
The F-14's wings could be overswept to 75 degrees, letting 5 Tomcats fit side by side, just like sardines, across the flight deck of a Nimitz-class carrier.
Oh, that's cool. Actually, I don't think I've ever actually seen...
Overswept
Where is it?
To 75 degrees, letting 5 Tomcats...
I don't think I've ever actually seen F-14s parked on an actual deck and how they actually parked them. But no, going back and forth like this, God, that's, with how big they are, that's actually really fucking cool. That's a really cool way to keep them all fucking parked up.
Cats fit side by side,
that's
just
dope.
like sardines across the flight deck of a Nimitz-class carrier. But all this new technology was very hard to maintain. Due to its technical complexity, it was estimated that every hour of flight required 40 to 60 hours of maintenance work and ground crew support to keep these birds flying. By the way, in case of a wing malfunction, the F-14 could safely fly with a symmetrical wing sweep and even land on a carrier if needed.
Oh. Glad there's fucking redundancy.
An aircraft carrier,
it's fucking
the
useful.
Sight of all of the F-14's numerous flight controls deflecting and popping up and down looked like the flapping of giant feathers, earning the F-14 the nickname Turkey.
Oof.
Of course, the official nickname, Tomcat, followed Grumman's tradition of naming their aircraft after cats, like Hellcat, Wildcat, and Panther. And because the 2 guys who urged Congress to approve this new aircraft were both named Tom, the F-14 was dubbed the Tomcat.
Thank God. This was so much better than the Turkey.
AIM-54 Phoenix missiles were especially effective when paired...
Like, can you imagine that? The F-14 Turkey.
...with the AN-OG-9 radar, which revolutionized beyond visual range air-to-air combat. The OG-9's fire control system had a 36-inch diameter antenna inside the nose cone, which could track up to 24 targets at once. When the launch button was pushed, the Phoenix missile could soar toward a target 100 nautical miles away at speeds in excess of Mach 5. At around 11 miles from the target, the Phoenix would activate its own radar to acquire, follow, and guide itself to the target, without the need to communicate with the F-14. This is why they called the Phoenix a fire-and-forget missile. And once its warhead of 135 pounds detonated, any existing aircraft in its proximity would cease to exist.
Oh, god damn.
I've never seen an Air Force knows all about that.
I've never seen an F-14. I've never seen, or a Phoenix. I've never seen a Phoenix test, missile
of
test,
course,
whatever.
The Phoenix missile wasn't the only type of weapon the Tomcat had under its wings. It also had the ability to carry a variety of medium and short-range, high-performance air-to-air missiles when on patrol, like AIM-9 Sidewinders and AIM-7 Sparrows.
Hey, we figured out earlier this week that AIM-7s weren't great. Which AIM-9s did they have, though? Trying to think. It'd be the AIM-9 E's, maybe? I don't think they'd have the L's just yet, but maybe they would. I wouldn't assume so,
though. One more weapon on board, and that's why the official Tomcat logo shows the cat wearing a 6-shooter on his left side.
Oh, that's a cool patch.
Since the F-14 was replacing the F-4 Phantom, the Navy insisted on adding to the Tomcat something the Phantom didn't have: a gun for close-range dogfighting. In Vietnam, F-4 pilots complained that when they had expended all their missiles, which was called going Winchester, the Phantom had no other weapons to fight with. So Grumman gave the F-14 an M16.
That was a very big issue when it came to the F-4. Especially the first versions and then the Navy versions. Because for whatever reason, the Navy insisted to not put one on, but then adding a gun pod for it. Which don't quote me on this, but I'm fairly positive that's still an issue today with like their F-35s. I'm pretty sure the Naval F-35 doesn't have an internal gun.
Vulcan,
you have to add a
20mm 6-barreled hydraulically powered automatic rotating cannon capable of firing over 6,000 rounds per minute. The F-14 carried the gun internally, mounted beneath the cockpit, with the muzzle on the lower left side of the fuselage. 6,000 rounds per minute may sound like a lot of lead heading downrange, but the Tomcat carried only 676 cartridges in its ammunition drum, which meant all the rounds would have been spent with a 6-second burst. But a simple yet genius trick helped pilots manage their ammo consumption. When loading the cartridges into the gun's ammo belt, some crews would deliberately skip one space in the belt after every 50. This would cause the gun to automatically stop until the next trigger squeeze, so pilots could pull the trigger with peace of mind, knowing that only 50 bullets would be shot every time.
That's
to help maintain the airplane's center of gravity and avoid the risk of empty cartridges causing foreign object damage to the engines, the ammunition drum retained the spent cases rather
like
than
the A-10.
ejecting them.
Like how the A-10 does.
Despite the fame and versatility of this amazing aircraft, the F-14 never racked up much of an aerial combat score, at least not in the US Navy.
No,
ironically, or rather ironically, the only other country that purchased Tomcats claimed between 130 to 150 air kills. In the 1970s, while still an ally of the United States, the Shah of Iran purchased 80 F-14s, complete with Phoenix missiles, which ended up being used extensively during the Iran-Iraq War from 1980
I didn't know that we gave them
1988.
Phoenixes as well. I knew we sold them Tomcats or whatever. I didn't realize that we gave them Phoenixes as well. And this is just making me think about that loan. I know I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it already this week, of that one F-14 sitting on the runway waiting for that B-2 to take it out.
In one instance, an Iranian pilot shot down a formation of 3 Iraqi MiG-23s at the same time, all with a single Phoenix missile. And that, boys and girls, is why combat spread is so important.
It is important.
Today, Iran is the only nation flying the F-14. It's estimated that 30 Iranian Tomcats are still in flying condition, thanks to other cannibalized airplanes, previously smuggled parts, and reverse-engineered technology from Russia.
Which kind of sucks because, you know, not only do we just have a bad, what would you call it, a bad repertoire with them now, we just don't produce them anymore. We don't produce the parts, so even if we could sell them to them, or wanted to sell them, we can't. Sad to think about.
This is precisely why, after the US Navy retired its F-14s in 2006, almost all of them had to be shredded to prevent any more spare parts from making their way to the Ayatollah's hangars.
That makes
sense.
sense.
It may seem like an extreme measure until you realize that the remains of 2 Tomcats that were supposed to be scrapped by a government contractor in the 1980s were found in 2016, abandoned in some field in Texas.
Oh no. That sucks. And it really does suck that the F-14 had to be fucking shredded like that, because, like, damn. I know private collectors would kill for that kind of shit. Like, if I ever had that kind of money, I would kill for an F-14. Just to privately own it. Like that one dude who flew Harriers for, I want to say, for the Marines, got out and wanted to continue flying them privately. So he bought a decommissioned Harrier from Britain.
Maybe the most...
And then there was also that one dude who I think ended up crashing. But he used to pop up on my YouTube shorts every so often because he would do air shows and shit in his MiG-23, I think it was.
Expected part of the Tomcat story is that its signature feature of carrying 6 Phoenix missiles was never used operationally, because if none of the missiles had been fired, the aircraft would have been too heavy to safely land back on the aircraft carrier. But they did test this capability in 1973, when an F-14 fired 6 Phoenix missiles in rapid succession. At the time, that became the most expensive air-to-air missile test ever conducted. And yet, after 32 years of service with the US Navy, the F-14 Tomcats never fired a single Phoenix missile in the defense of the fleet.
Which, while on one hand, yes, it does kind of suck that we never got to see the actual performance of them. At the same time, it's kind of a good thing that we never had to do it either, as well. So, yes and no. Well, that was why the F-14 was built for a weapon that was never fired, and by Not What You Think, and yeah, that was a really good video. Make sure you guys check it out. It's linked down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.